I'm in this strange position, turning 40 this year, where I'm spending a lot of time alone. And I've always sort of been inclined to be this way. But as I get older, I get keenly aware of why this is the case, or at least what sort of causes me to want to do this. And I'm also aware of the need to not want to be alone. We are pack animals, of course. So we naturally aren't really designed to live alone. Thousands of years ago, if we lived alone, we would die. It's only a modern invention, being able to live alone. So I wanted to make this video today to try to be really upfront and honest about what's going on for me. A lot of this I'm quite embarrassed about, kind of ashamed about, because I am 40, and it seems like by the time you're 40, you're supposed to have a lot of this shit sorted. I've definitely tried very hard to do that. In some ways, I have succeeded in increasing my awareness. In other ways, I have failed. So for you out there, if you're going through this, feel free to send me a message, and we can connect. I remember as a kid being very scared to be alone, which is an interesting conflict, right? I remember whenever my mother would leave me to go to another room or whatever, if we were somewhere that I was unfamiliar with, I'd get a lot of crazy anxiety. And that to me suggests that initially I probably needed a fair amount of reassurance that I was safe. And due to my mother and stepfather's nature, I didn't get a lot of that. They were quite unhappy people, angry, depressed kind of people with, I believe, mental health issues. And so I think when a child doesn't get the sense of security from their parents, it causes a lot of very painful emotions to be trapped inside the body, because it was dangerous for me to communicate certain things to my parents. And I had a lot of fear and shame and pain and grief that I didn't feel safe to express, to feel. And because of that, I felt that I grew up without ever feeling safe. And today I still carry a lot of that, this sense of never feeling safe in my body. And I think this sense of unsafeness was a big part of my childhood, because we weren't really allowed to express ourselves or talk, or we were never made to feel that it was okay to be who we are. It was okay to say what we think. And then I grew up hiding this, full of shame, thinking that who I was bad or, shameful. So I'd always try to change myself to make everyone around me feel or to try to make everyone not be unhappy with me. I was always considered the friend that my friend's parents liked, because I was so nice, didn't cause any trouble. And so I grew up with this. I carried it with me my whole life, this sense of shame for the things I had to say and any truth that I had about myself, any true thoughts that I had, sexuality. Ended up having some very I met and was with some really good women, but I had some strange opinions of them, kind of like I would really put them on a pedestal and think that they were princesses and stuff like that, and my relationships never really worked out in the long term, and I think it's a lot to do with that stuff. And so I became aware of it really keenly in my late 20s. My teens and pretty much early to late teens and early 20s was just me doing drugs and trying to get attention, trying to feel comfortable around people because I was so unhappy all the time. A lot of pain inside, always so depressed and sad and full of shame and anxiety and guilt, and the body was just full of it. But I did like people and I did like socializing, and I knew that, so I would use drugs incredibly excessively in order to do that. Alcohol, ecstasy, speed, all of them. And it really was just so I could feel a bit better and be able to socialize with people and feel good. But it didn't work. This is where I sort of realized eventually, much later in life, the nature of drugs, which is that they can't work. All they're doing is taking away from future happiness and just experiencing it now. It is an illusion to think that they do anything for you. They're just simply taking away things from the future. It's really pointless, and they never helped me in any way. Well, in terms of, I had good experiences and met some cool people doing it. And so I made connections and learned how to socialize to some degree. But permanent change is none of it. Drugs just don't do that. And then I would try to get all these ways to get attention. We all want to be seen, right? So I became really good at music, instruments. Then it was things like boxing, dance, all these little hobbies that I would have, try to become really good. And there was an inherent joy in doing these things in a lot of cases, but a lot of the drive was to try to be really impressive, to perform my way to get the attention that I want. And it does work to some extent. It's just that if you try to form relationships with some of these people, it doesn't work because you don't have the ability to connect. And then much later in life, after doing all the drugs, and I stopped doing a lot of that when I was about 23, I started to really become aware of this stuff. I became aware that I was different in a lot of cases to a lot of people, that I wasn't really behaving in a way that other people behave. Like my social skills were different, where I was kind of avoidant and wouldn't want to face things and was extremely angry and emotional a lot of the time. So I became very aware of this as I got older and started to find more organic ways to try to fix it. So this was things like going out and socializing nearly every night of the week, getting involved with the pickup community, as embarrassing as that can be to say. It was quite helpful to have it, I made some really good relationships with people, and it really is just a bunch of guys trying to get better in their life. So I'd go out to pubs and clubs and just approach people, trying to talk to them, and do it during the day, just basically trying to fix the social skills aspect. I always had a lot of trouble. I was always so aware of how other people, what I think other people think and feel. And this made me very scared to talk to people I didn't know. Very scared, more than a lot of people. Even today, I get it. Where I'm very aware of others. I'm very careful with being social, I don't have any problems knowing in a lot of cases what a weird thing is to do and say. But I just have trouble opening up to people who I don't really know that well. So I really went at that for a couple of years. At the same time, looking into things like meditation, spirituality. This eventually made me aware of the emotions that I was holding in the body. This, in many ways, was a massive breakthrough. To become so aware of the emotions in my body, This was around my early 30s. To even become aware of the fact that it's okay to feel my emotions was absolutely groundbreaking for me. I used to just push everything away, push away, and it took many years of work, but eventually I could cry. I could just sit with emotions. I could feel my anger. This in many ways did open things up to some degree. It increased my awareness of myself and where the problems lie. But still, the social issues remained. It's not like I have really bad social skills or anything. I can hold my own in a situation, but I just tend to avoid it and can be fairly awkward in a fair amount of situations. When I have an interaction with someone, after the interaction, these feelings come up. During the interaction, these feelings come up. Massive anxiety in the chest and the stomach. So it makes me kind of tense and jerky and people-pleasing when I'm around someone. And then afterwards, I eventually learned that I can release these by feeling it and being present with it and moving it through the body. But still, the pain remains, the trouble that I have with it. And nothing I've really done has really fixed it. No amount of skill practice has done, and I have done a lot of skill practice with this stuff. No amount of reading and meditation, even emotions, feeling them, going through them, all the grief, the year of grieving that I spent just crying, the seething rage that I can feel now, things like that, just doing these things for years, and still the tendency to want to be alone and avoid social interactions is still there, quite strong. The fear of talking to people I don't know is still very strong. So essentially I spend a fair amount of time alone because it's painful being around other people. And I don't want to be like this. I don't want it to be this way. I know extroverts or people who I'm very fond of who seem to be so themselves around other people and relaxed and just expressive, but for the reasons I mentioned, I tend to just hide myself all the time. And now that I'm 40, I'm very aware of the times that I do it. The other thing is that I have very strong anger reactions, and for me to be completely honest with my emotions with people, a lot of it would be anger, and I know a lot of it isn't their fault or their problem. So it's very difficult to want to try to identify exactly what I think and feel in the moment and express that, because it can be confusing with all these other emotions. So it is something I need to work on. Something I still would love to be able to do is just talk to people that I don't know and be happy doing it. Comfortably do this. I mean, maybe it's difficult to some degree for everyone, but I would like to be able to do it because it's such an important skill to have, I think. And I keep working on the emotions and the anger and just trying to feel through these things. It's been so many years. I see some progress, but it's so slow that it's very difficult to calculate. Sometimes I don't even know if it's working. Sometimes I think it's doing nothing. So things are very up and down, but I have spent a lifetime working on this stuff. I was very ignorant of it for the first 20 to 30 years of my life, very much so. And that's why I'm having to deal with it now, is because my 30 to 40 decade was pretty much just this stuff. Me just trying to do everything I possibly can to try to get a hold of this stuff, but it's just still not there. So I'm not looking for excuses. I realize that it's on me. So something as well that's definitely caused a lot of difficulties is nutritional health, mental health. The nutritional issues that I've had for a long time, it started with skin issues and stuff like that when I was younger. and then it moved on to histamine intolerance and IBS and just intolerances to food, and eventually it's to the point now that I'm essentially on a carnivore diet, or at least close to it. I can't eat fiber. I eat very, very low carb, in ketosis all the time. I really just eat carnivore with low sugar coconut yogurt. And during this period, it caused a ton of issues with massive brain fog and depression and mood swings and stuff like this, probably bipolar related things as well. So it's very, very difficult to be around people, and I would say a lot of it is caused, or at least influenced heavily by this, my want to be alone, because for the last 10 years or more, pretty much I've just been in some kind of food reaction a lot of the time. The severe brain fog and depression and anxiety and things like that really make it so difficult to do things. But I've still tried, I've still gone out, I've still maintained friendships and really tried my best. Have lost a lot of people along the way though. So that's pretty much it, guys. Very difficult video for me to make and release. I really don't want to release this, but I'm going to, just because, I don't know, I think it's important for me to just be honest in these things. What else is there except being honest? And maybe making these types of videos alone is a healing process, just to get it out there, not to have to hide behind all this shame, Hopefully some of you out there got something out of this. If you want to message me, feel free. Tips, ideas. If you've had a similar experience, feel free to send a message. Thanks, guys.